Willkommen, Damen und Herren und anderen. Well, I've read the mermaids tweeting, each to each. They never tagged me. They say fellas once more into the breach. But now they want me to quaff their bleach. Sweet plague lady, why you do me this way? Welcome to the Verdugo HUUT. My name is Marty Barrett. Our first guest tonight comes from his fortified island compound. Would you please welcome Mr. Ben Deily?
So there's this guy, Marty Barrett, and he tells me you're supposed to do an introduction. And first of all, my glasses are wildly reflective in this light. And second of all, I don't know what to say by way of introduction. Hello. Thanks for joining us this evening. If it is indeed evening, because time zones, you know, it's all artifice. I don't know if I even remember the words to the song, but we'll find out together, won't we? Okay, here we go. If our paths should cross again, who knows where, who knows when, on some morning without number, on some highway without end. Don't grasp my hand and say, fate has brought you here today. 'Cause fate is only fooling with us, friend. Keep your distance. Keep your distance. When I feel you close to me, what can I do but fall? Keep your distance. It's a desperate game we play. Throw our lives, our souls away. Wounds that can't be mended, and debts that can't be paid. Well, I played and I got stung. Now I'm biting back my tongue. Sweeping up the footprints where I've strayed. Keep your distance. Keep your distance. When I feel you close to me, what can I do but fall? Keep your distance. Oh, keep your distance. With us it must be all or none at all. With us it must be all or none at all. With us it must be all or none at all.
Oh!
That's what you sound like with these masks on. That's you. Hi everybody, my name is Marty Barrett. Thank you so much for joining us for the third digital Plague Edition of Verdugo HUUT. Those of you who have joined us in person see that I'm broadcasting from the sanctuary of the wonderful Unitarian Universalist Church of the Verdugo Hills here in the mysterious Crescenta Valley of northern Los Angeles, in the shadow of the San Gabriels and sandwiched just north of the Verdugo Hills. It's really a lovely area. And if you were to come here on the third Saturday of every month, normally, if there isn't a plague on, you would sit in this 100-seat sanctuary and hear some great music, wonderful readings, excellent comedians, plate spinners, puppeteers, and people who spontaneously combust. I will be back at various times throughout the proceedings tonight over our 9 guests and tell you a little bit more about the Verdugo HUUT and about each of our wonderful performers tonight. But in the meantime, coming back and joining us for the first time since the very first HUUT in February of 2018, we are so happy to have Mr. Alias Means.
Hi. This is Alias Means, coming at you from quarantine lockdown in charming Silver Lake. Want to play you a song today. This is part of the Verdugo HUUT series. The Verdugo HUUT is put on by Marty Barrett. Marty, we want to thank you for, it's usually a live show, but we can't do that sort of thing these days, so we're doing it this way, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm going to do a traditional song. It's written by Stephen Foster, apparently published in 1852. It's kind of an obvious pick, but let's do the obvious right now. It's a song called Hard Times. Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered all around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times, oh hard times, come again no more. Many days you have lingered all around my cabin door. Oh, hard times, come again no more. There's a pale, drooping maiden who toils her life away, with a worn heart whose better days are o'er. Though her voice it would be merry, it is sighing all the day. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times, oh hard times, come again no more. Many days you have lingered all around my cabin door. Oh, hard times, come again no more. Oh, hard times, come again no more. Everybody be safe, take care of each other. We'll see you on stage on the other side of this.
See what I did there? Stephen Foster, their Alias Means and Stephen Foster on their little riverboat, pretending that Alias Means was right up there on the stage, even though God knows where Alias Means is. He's probably in a little bunker somewhere with a harem and jars of urine. Well, if there's one thing I know about Alias Means, it involves... Anyway, let's move on to our next guest. I knew that she was a wonderful screenwriter, and I knew that she was a wonderful podcast host, but for some reason I never got, until she sent in this wonderful Robert Browning reading, that Melanie Hooks has the voice of a late-night DJ that you don't want to get angry. Reading a poem from the great Scot Robert Browning, Melanie Hooks.
Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. Since college. The rain set early in tonight. The sullen wind was soon awake. It tore the elm tops down for spite and did its best to vex the lake. I listened with heart fit to break. When glided in Porphyria, straight she shut the cold out and the storm, and kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up, and all the cottage warm. Which done, she rose, and from her form withdrew the dripping cloak and shawl, and laid her soiled gloves by, untied her hat, and let the damp hair fall. And last, she sat down by my side and called me. When no voice replied, she put my arm about her waist and made her smooth white shoulder bare, and all her yellow hair displaced, and stooping made my cheek lie there, and spread o'er all her yellow hair, murmuring how she loved me, she too weak for all her heart's endeavor to set its struggling passion free from pride and vainer ties to sever. But passion sometimes would prevail, nor could tonight's gay feast restrain a sudden thought of one so pale for love of her, and all in vain. So she was come through wind and rain. Be sure I looked up at her eyes, happy and proud. At last I knew Porphyria worshipped me. Surprise made my heart swell, and still it grew while I debated what to do. That moment, she was mine, mine, there, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair in one long yellow string I wound 3 times her little throat around, and strangled her. No pain felt she. I am quite sure she felt no pain. As a shut bud that holds a V, I warily oped her lids again. I again laughed the blue eyes without a stain, and I untightened next the tress about her neck. Her cheek once more blushed bright beneath my burning kiss. I propped her head up as before, only this time my shoulder bore her head, which droops upon it still. The smiling, rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will, that all it scorned at once is fled, and I, its love, am gained instead. Porphyria's love, she guessed not how, her darling one wish would be heard. And thus we sit together now, and all night long we have not stirred. And yet God has not said a word.
Awesome. I have known this next gentleman for about 30 years, even though I am only 23. He is a great guy. He's not your standard Verdugo HUUT guest. He's a fan from across the country. He's never actually been to one of these things. But in a time where we all have to band together like a happy few and go once more into the breach, this reading by Lieutenant Colonel Robert Macaraeg, retired from the U.S. Army, is quite appropriate. And he's sort of like the Roman general Cincinnatus, who retired from the battlefield and became a gentleman farmer, except Mr. Macaraeg is over in Hudson, New Hampshire. And you'll see as he reads this next piece, the really sweet East Coast light, which is so different from the light that we have in Los Angeles. The light that we have in Los Angeles is provided entirely by fires. Anyway, kudos to his daughter who filmed this, and I assure Mr. Macaraeg's daughters that there's not going to be anybody reading from a bathtub in this show.
From one of the greatest writers in the English language. What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin, if we are marked to die, we are now. To do our country's loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one more man. By Jove, I am not covetous of gold, nor I care doth feed upon my cost. If it yearns me not, if men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it is to be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my cause, wish not a man from England, God's peace. I would not lose so great an honor, as one man more, methinks, would share from me. For the best hope I have, oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart, his passport shall be made, and crowns for his convoy put in his purse. He would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispin. He that outlives this day and shall come safe home will stand a tiptoe when the day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispin. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on this vigil feast his neighbors, and say, tomorrow St. Crispin. And then he shall strip his sleeve and show his scars, and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. That then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be it in their flowing cups, freshly remembered. This story shall be the good man teach his son, and Crispin shall near go by, for this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, and be here near so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England shall now abed, shall think themselves accused they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap while any speaks that they fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day. This is from Henry V by William Shakespeare, and I gave that speech to my soldiers in Kandahar, Afghanistan in 2005. I wish you all the best. Thank you and have a good day.
I met this next gentleman, Mitchell Schaffer, in one of the first Verdugo HUUTs, and it was a very rare, non-representative, rainy day in Los Angeles. And you can hear from my resonant, well-modulated, manly baritone that the acoustics of this place are just great. And up above us is a beautiful gabled wood roof. And on the night that Mitchell Schaffer came, the rain was on the roof, and it just sounded lovely. And he's come back numerous times. He's been to at least a dozen HUUTs, and this is his first digital one. And he's here with his good friend Jose Freitas, who hails from Portugal. So enjoy these two gentlemen in Mitchell's brand new song, available on Spotify, 3 a.m.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mitchell. This is my pal Jose. We're happy to perform for you today, and hope everyone's healthy, and hope this message finds you making the best of a tough situation. Time around and things will bubble up. We were on the way from every one of us here tonight. Deliver me the sky. Every one of us here tonight. And will I be tonight? You are a pretty girl, living in
Sha-la-la-la. 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 You are a pretty girl living in this messed up world. You are a pretty girl living in this silly world. Thank you guys so much, and God bless you all.
Our next guest is one of those guys that he would be called a musician's musician, and though he hasn't played the hoot before, when people heard he was playing this hoot, they were so delighted to be on the bill with him. I don't even know if he exists in carbon-based corporeal form, because I've never met him. That's the nature of being friends with somebody on Facebook. But, and it doesn't help that it appears that he's broadcasting from either the Winterfell crypts or the cellars of Castle Wolfenstein. But you will love his song. His name is Brian Woodbury.
Hello, Hooters! Well, maybe not Hooters. Hello, Hooters! My name's Brian Woodbury, and Marty has asked me to perform a song for you in this new virtual reality on a theme of heir apparent. Well, there you go. This song is about a person who is trapped inside the limits of his own imagination. Don't know much about biology. I've forgotten all my history. Couldn't pass a whiskey bar exam. That's the kind of person that I am. What made the universe I wouldn't know. I wasn't there 1,000 years ago. There ain't that much that I know much about. It all goes in one ear and right back out. I do the best that I can do, and maybe I don't have a clue. But would it be a better world if I knew? A truly better world if I knew. Sure, I learned about the birds and bees. I know what makes my Hyundai go is keys. I get that dirt is down and stars are up. 64 ounces in my super cup. I know statistics for my favorite teams, and stuff I read off of some Facebook memes, like lawyers cheat and politicians lie. The news is fake, but I can't tell you why. I do the best that I can do, and maybe I don't have a clue. But would it be a better world if I knew? A truly better world if I knew. You could tell me I'm dumb, but smart is overrated, and I don't care what you say. Besides, it isn't my fault that I'm not educated. Hey, I was just born this way. Don't know much about the dinosaurs, but I'm sure they're not my that's just theories you can't prove. Climates that warm and continents that move. Your facts will not convince me, please don't try. My ignorance, that is my alibi. 'Cause when I see what you go through, from knowing all you know is true, it wouldn't be a better world if I knew to have to see from your point of view and realize all the work left to do. I guess I'd rather I never knew. Thank you very much. Have a hoot.
I met this next gentleman about 20 years ago at Theater of Note, which is one of LA's great 99-seat theaters. And I guess we're in a 99-seat theater as well. And back then, I just knew him as an excellent improviser and a fine actor. I didn't know at that time that he was one of LA's premier folk musicians, well revered in the LA folk community of 5 or 6 people. His name is Phil Ward. This is his second time performing at the Hoot, first time digitally. So, he's got about a 50-50 three-dimensional and digital presence. You'll really enjoy Phil Ward coming to you from Pigeon Forge.
Thank you, Marty. No need to call me Colonel. Everyone just calls me Phil. Hey, everybody. Thank you for letting me into your home. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing as well as possible. Weird times. I tell you what I've been thinking about. I've been trying to write songs that are what folk musicians call in the tradition, which means that they're not genuinely folk songs from decades or centuries ago, but they sound like they could be. That's a song that's in the tradition. So this is one of those songs in the tradition. Like many songs in the tradition, it includes lots of death and destruction. So hopefully it'll cheer you up and be good for you at this time. It takes place in an actual town in Tennessee called Pigeon Forge. Maybe you've heard of it. And that's the name of the song too. Pigeon Forge. Here we go. There was a Smoky Mountain lass in eastern Tennessee. Her shape that of an hourglass, her hair was wild and free. And through the foothills she would pass for all the town to see. And on her feast of beauty they would gorge in Pigeon Forge. And thus did Ruthie gain renown with looks that nature gave her. And all the young men of the town would vie for Ruthie's favor. They could not keep their passion down, so hotly did they crave her. She told them all that they must fight this urge in Pigeon Forge. There was a lad named Tom McGrew, a teacher and a scholar. With Ruthie he would rendezvous down in O'Leary's holler. They both took care that no one knew for fear of what they'd call her. For rumor travels quickly in a town as large as Pigeon Forge. Another of young Ruthie's beaux was a man named Russell, o'er 6 feet tall from head to toes and built of solid muscle. He looked on and his anger rose as off to Tom she'd bustle. He challenged Tom to meet him on the ridge near Pigeon Forge. Now Tom McGrew was no one's fool, as knowledge was his master, while Russell ne'er had been to school to earn a living faster, and had the strength of many a mule, a recipe for disaster. For Russell was a man who held a grudge in Pigeon Forge. In spite of Ruthie's pleas for peace, the men kept their appointment. She followed, begging them to cease, and bearing first aid ointment. And on that day the town police to their local gin joint went. And history would spill blood on this page in Pigeon Forge. Oh, Appalachia, can nothing stop the plunder of every Smoky smoky mountaintop. Now Russell dressed in grays and blacks and pants that needed pressin', while Tom McGrew wore Sunday slacks to teach Russell a lesson. For Russell merely brought an axe and Tom a Smith & Wesson. And if Russell wanted bloodshed, he'd oblige in Pooj and Fige. Then desperately Ruthie cried and pleaded with each suitor. Ashamed, Tom turned his gun aside for fear that he might shoot her, while Russell, swallowing his pride, raised his arm to salute her, and accidentally axed himself between kidney and spleen. The birds from all the trees took flight, so great his cry of pain, and Ruthie fled into the night as it began to rain, while Tom fired several shots in fright, so addled was his brain. And that's what instigated the mudslide in which they died. The mudslide gathered strength and speed as toward the town it sped. Oh, nature's force is strong indeed, and dozens soon were dead. Fewer mountains is what we need, the politicians said. And that's when they first gave their approval to mountaintop removal. Oh, Appalachia, can nothing stop the plunder of every smoky mountaintop? Now some have tried to reason through the meaning of this ballad. I say whatever works for you and any theory's valid. I tell you what we ought to do is go and have some salad. And maybe we'll discuss as we are dining mountaintop mining.
Our next guest, well, I'm going to let Marty Barrett introduce you to her.
Hello, everyone. You know, it's funny. Well, not that funny. But we like to think of America as a classless society. You know, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, how much money you have, the zip code in which you were born, where you were educated. And I feel like if I keep talking about that, I'm just going to go straight to hell. Anyway, needless to say, we are fascinated by class here in America. And one person that really classes the place up is my favorite Iron Curtain exile, the Countess.
Hello, Marty, can you hear me? Marty, hello?
Yes.
Hello? Oh,
yes.
Hello, Hoot. Hello, Hoot. Verdugo HUUT. Mwah, mwah. It is so great to be here at the Verdugo HUUT online. Marty, what are we calling this? The virtual Hoot? What is it?
This is the digital Plague Edition of the Hoot, and your country had many plagues.
Yes, as you know, but maybe the viewers do not, I hail from Ukraine, which was a country in Eastern Europe, but now has been split into, I don't care how many, whatever, it was the 90s. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Oh, Marty, I don't know why I didn't go to Canada with Meghan and Harry, but here I am.
I'm so happy to see you. So you are in the little duchy of North Hollywood right now, aren't you?
I am. I live I'm trying to get it to be Northeast Toluca Lake or Needle, but it's not catching on. So let's be honest, it's North Hollywood, yes.
Well, you class up the place without a doubt.
Oh, stop, Marty. You're so charming, and you look so handsome in that suit. Oh, my goodness. That's from your Elvis thing, right? You hosted a thing in January when we used to go outside. Oh.
Yes, I saw so many people back then, and
yes.
And now, you know, even those little kisses that you blew me at the beginning of this segment, I felt a little guilty accepting them.
Oh no, I give kisses freely. I don't. No, I mean no, virtual kisses, not real kisses. Ugh, I long for the touch, the human touch. This is crazy town. I don't know. When is it going to end? Though I love watching that Gavin Newsom every afternoon. Ooh, he's so handsome.
I know, he's dreamy. And Andrew Cuomo with his rings.
He's dreamboat.
And,
yes,
and
yes,
Eric Garcetti's no slouch
and,
either.
No, he's no slouch. I one time had pancakes with him at one of those pancake breakfasts for your city councilman. It was delightful. And now look, the mayor. Oh,
he's the mayor.
Now, I know this is totally off, but that's Cuomo. Do you know he has nipple rings? It's so funny to see them through his shirt. He's doing a good job too. Everybody who's not in Washington is doing a great job.
Well, all the I agree about that. But I haven't read too much history, but I read a lot of large print picture books. All the earls and the marquesses and everything in Czechoslovakia that you come from, they had all sorts of
Ukraine.
They had weird jewelry and piercings as part of part of their ornamentation.
Who doesn't love a little sparkly bauble hanging off whatever you can pierce? You know what I'm saying? And you can when you have to run away and escape because the peasants are chasing you with the pitchforks and the flaming torches, you can take it all with you. You don't have to just sew it into your bodice like those Romanovs. You know what I'm saying? You gotta take it everywhere.
When you were back when you were firmly ensconced in your various seasonal palaces, you're no stranger to plagues. There were all sorts of plagues in
so many plagues.
Ukraine.
I know they did not talk about this because you guys were on the other side of the Iron Curtain. But let me tell you, in 1968, the dropsy plague, it was terrible. You never hear about it. But Olga Korbut had it. It's amazing. She was still able to go to... Well, she went to the Olympics, don't you remember? And what is it, when they leave the Olympics and they stay in the country? They defect. She defected
because
she had dropsy.
I didn't know that.
I know, nobody talks about it.
I thought Olga Korbut was...
You people on the other side of the Iron Curtain, you had no idea.
There are things that happen in those various plagues that are horrible to talk about. Like, there was the sweating sickness, the boils.
Like the boils? Oh my God, the time when your intestines leak out of your belly button, it's very awful. Plagues are terrible. That's why we don't want them. Wear your mask. We don't want any more plague. I just want to go for a walk outside where the people are. And I want to go to some drag queen bingo. I mean, I just want to get out of the house. Yes. Oh, what? I can't. Marty, I don't know. It's starting to cut out. It's 4:00 in the Norho Art District. Our internet goes in and out. It's not good. We're going to have to cut this short.
Oh, it's like we're experiencing a rolling blackout together.
Yes, it is. It's what's happening. Okay, Marty, just to wrap it up, I just want to say thank you for doing this. I've been tuning into all of the Plague Hoots, and I want to support the Verdugo Plague Hoot and everything that you do, okay? And I hope that on this one you're going to play a little flugelhorn, because that's always my favorite.
Oh, thank you, Countess. It's so wonderful to see you and get an ounce of class in these arrangements.
Oh. Well, I hope that you will ask me back, okay?
All right.
I will see you soon.
Bye, Countess.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody on the internet.
And I've been telling people forever, this is not a flugelhorn. You know who plays a flugelhorn? Chuck Mangione. And I know that everybody with their plague beards is becoming Chuck Mangione. But this is a marching, baritone horn, okay? It has a rich and resonant sound. It's no Children of Sanchez, more like a Dirty Sanchez, but, you know, marching baritone horn. So gang, a little bit about the Verdugo HUUT. One thing that's kind of satisfying and kind of strange at the same time is that more people have watched the Verdugo HUUT online than have ever seen it in person, you know, by the very nature of the internet. When I moved from Boston 20 years ago, I knew that Los Angeles was going to be different. I didn't realize how different it was. You know, the public transportation here isn't very good. I stopped reading books on trains. I stopped reading almost entirely. I'm almost completely functionally illiterate right now. However, the trade-off is the Mexican food is way better. One of the things about running a show in Los Angeles, as opposed to other places I've lived, like New York and Boston and San Francisco and other, you know, civilized places, is that because people come here to be in the entertainment industry, a lot of times they feel like their time is so short. So you'll be in a show or you'll go to a show and a person will be performing and you'll stay for that person's set and then you'll leave. Or a comedian, let's say, will do 3 open mic nights in a night. And so there's people going from one place to another and not sitting down to watch an entire show. So when I had the opportunity to bring the Verdugo HUUT here, or to start a hootenanny, I wanted it to be a place where fans of the first act would become fans of the last act. And there would be a community of musicians and performers and comedians and monologists, and they would, you know, find this, and I hate this term, to be a safe space to perform. Now that doesn't mean that somebody can't bomb at the Verdugo HUUT, and when somebody bombs, they know it. But it is really a much more gentle, fun, thoughtful community of performers than anywhere I've seen in Los Angeles. So we're really excited about, you know, the quarantine lifting and maybe seeing you folks in person. Now, one of the people that we became great friends with was a man named Tim Fleming. And Tim left us suddenly in April. He was not only a multi-talented musician, but he's just a wonderful man. I got to know him because he was the bass player and the backup singer for Lisa Finney, who's performed at the HUUT a number of times, and she's a Los Angeles treasure. She hosts a show called The Dylan Hours on KCSN that you have no excuse not to listen to because you can pick it up anywhere in the world. Sunday mornings, the Dylan hours. Anyway, when Lisa Finney came to do the show, she brought her band, which included John Palmer, a wonderful percussionist, Dylan Thomas, an exquisite guitar player, and this dude named Tim Fleming, who that night, I think, was either playing a steel guitar or he was bringing, you know, his 200-pound double bass. Tim played wonderfully that night, as everybody who knows Tim knows. But then he just started showing up at the Hoot every month, and not necessarily with Lisa's band, but with a number of other bands. He was basically the official string player of Los Angeles County. And he was such a nice man. You will not meet anybody who knew Tim Fleming without hearing about his wonderful taste in music, his wonderful ability and facility with music, but also his quick and kind wit. Now, last time I saw Tim was in February. It was just before the lockdown. He and Lisa and John and Dylan were playing at this coffee house gallery in Altadena, which is a couple of miles away from here latitudinally. And it was just a great night. I don't get to go out to a lot of shows unless I'm hosting them. And so it was a date night with myself. And I brought a book along. I brought Upton Sinclair's The Plague, maybe because I knew that pork factories were going to be closing down. And I got there early. I had dinner. It was a great night to see a show, and of course the show itself was wonderful. And as I walked in, I saw Tim, and Tim sat down with me, and he said, "Who'd you have to beat up to get in here so early?" And I said, I have a certain oily charm. And Tim, without missing a beat, said, "Well, here's a toast to your viscosity." Tim is one of those guys that when he passed in April, everyone was immediately struck with this profound grief. But I don't know if anybody had that weird feeling of, my last meeting with Tim was so, hostile or tense. I don't know anybody who had a last meeting with Tim that wasn't like their first meeting with Tim, which was just wonderful. About a year ago, on Mother's Day, Lisa Finney, who had just adopted a daughter, had a big party to introduce the world to her daughter. And I sat down with Tim in her front yard, and we just had a conversation about how proud we were of our daughters. And I know Tim was so proud of his daughter, and I'm so profoundly sad for all the people who loved Tim. At the same time, they were so lucky. One of the people who contends for the title of Tim's best friend is a Swedish-born, Berlin-based singer named Sofia Talvik. And within days of Tim's death, she produced this wonderful video called Broken, Steel Guitars in Heaven. And she got Lisa Finney, Dylan Thomas, another friend of Tim's, Cynthia Brando, who's performed at the Hoot as well, to sing backup. And it was truly an international amalgamation of talents to put together the video that you're about to see. So while you watch this, let's all give a salute to Tim Fleming's Viscosity.
Well, there's a really short one now, but everyone's heard it. A skeleton walks into a bar and says, "Bartender, give me a beer and a mop." Now it'll take like another 2.5 minutes to figure that out, but it's funny.
But rules are rules and you obeyed. Just like me, you were afraid. I wish you had gone that day. Maybe then you could have stayed. There will be a hole in my heart forever. That will be the shape of you. And darling, when your heart was breaking, you were breaking my heart too. You were breaking my heart too. Cried when songs were sad. You made me smile when I was blue. I think you would have cried right now, but now the tears are all for you. Now someone else will play this song, and someone else will cry. To play long, you didn't even say goodbye. There will be a hole in my heart forever. That will be the shape of you. And darling, when your heart was breaking, you were breaking my heart too. Now we're broken, me and you. You'd broken all the rules. I wish you'd open up that door. But something else was broken instead. Now I can see you anymore. I wish tomorrow I'll wake up from this nightmare we are in. How you've been. There will be a hole in my heart forever. That will be the shape of you. And darling, when your heart was breaking, you were breaking my heart too. There will be a hole in my heart forever. Shape of you. I hope that they have steel guitars in heaven. I know you play them if they do. I know you'd play them if they do. Piece of you, a hole in my heart forever. That will be the shape of you.
Wasn't that lovely? It's okay if you cry. It's okay if you cry a little bit. You know, as Gandalf says, not all tears are an evil. We have reached the end of our show, folks. I'm so glad that you stayed with us and that you tuned in on your very busy pandemic evening when you have so many choices of entertainment. You know, how many times can you watch Tiger King, really? There's so many levels. Anyway, on June 20th is our next Verdugo Hoot. It will be called The Plaguey Days of Summer. It is somewhat booked. If you want to get in touch with me, my address is verdugohoot@gmail.com. Verdugohoot@gmail.com is also the PayPal link to, send a little bit of that stimulus cash to some of our performers, and I will make sure it gets to them as well as some of the performers from the previous two Verdugo Hoots. In addition to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Verdugo Hills at uuverdugo.org, who has so generously and graciously given us this space for the past 2.5 years. It's a very nice community, and they don't commit human sacrifices or anything like that. Check out the Unitarians. You'll be glad you did. Anyway, for our credit sequence, we go back to Plum Island and Mr. Ben Deily, who gets photobombed by the sun in this final Mountain Goat song. I hope you take really good care of yourselves, and it would be my great pleasure to meet you in person at a future Verdugo Hoot. Take care, everybody.
Worked out of the liquor store. A guy with a shotgun came raging through the place, muscled his way behind the counter. I shot him in the face. Down to the Catholic Church, 'cause something just came over me. 45 minutes in the pews, saying the rosary when the last days come. We shall see visions more vivid than sunsets, brighter than stars. We will recognize each other and finally see ourselves for the first time the way we really are. Decorative grate on my window gets a little rustier every year. I don't understand how the metal rusts when it never rains here. A year or two ago I worked at the liquor store. A guy came in, tried to kill me, so I shot him in the face. I would do it again, I would do it again when the last days come. We shall see visions more vivid than sunsets, and brighter than stars. We will each other and see ourselves for the first time the way